Loomian Legacy used to be considered one of the most popular Roblox games in the world, mainly due to its inspiration from the Pokémon franchise and its predecessor, Pokémon Brick Bronze. However, its popularity began to decline due to the delay of the second Atlanthian City update. Additionally, Season 2 of the Netflix show, Squid Game, is also on its way for arrival. One day I thought, hey, why not take these two very different ideas and combine them together? And that, my friends, is what this video will be about. My name is ITZ Bruni and today, we're gonna be finding out which Loomian would win Squid Game. Let's dive right in. Before we begin, let's go over the rules. First, Loomians are not allowed to bring in any held items, outside weapons, or learn any rally or MM moves. This is to keep the playing field as fair as possible. Second, Loomians will be allowed to use their movesets and abilities under a sizable moderation. For example, Loomians can use their moves in fighting-based games, but not to fly or teleport over the glass bridge. Third, winners and losers will be determined by their Lomipedia entries, moves, typings, and personalities, though it may be hard to judge them for the latter due lack of character. Finally, only the first 30 fully evolved Loomians in the Lomipedia will be included in order to keep the video at a reasonable length, so no Twillets, Proppies, or Eaglets. Sorry Amenti. This also means there won't be any roaming Loomians competing. However, if enough people watch this video, I'll make more videos like this one with more Loomians. So if you're watching and aren't yet subscribed, hit the subscribe button and drop a like on this video. It motivates me to make more videos like these. Additionally, this video is heavily inspired by Wicked Binge. They create Squid Game simulation videos like this one. So after you're done watching this one, go subscribe to them. With our rules out of the way, the contestants that are participating in the first ever Loomian Legacy Squid Game are Cirque Knight, Luminami, Tatab, Forkiri, Vesperitu, Imbra, Zulong, Umbrat, Luxor, Ticlips, Cinemath, Submabito, Avatris, Swolder, Florent, Terrafly, Terraclaw, Ragoon, Borak, Elaguana, Gastroke, WikiWiki, Chartaki, Laka, Shorchi, Sedimas, Ventasian, Ursal, Ursnak, and Revenine. Now, with our rules and contestants established, let the games begin.
And may the odds be ever in your favor.
Starting things off, we have the first game, Red Light Green Light. In order for our contestants to win this game, they must make it past the finish line and stop whenever a red light is active. Contestants that survive must either have a level head not only to stay still during a red light, but also to not panic when people start dying, sharp listening skills to understand how the game works, or a naturally high speed to make it past the finish line easily. One can survive with just one of these skills, but chances of success will go down. We will first go over who is guaranteed to survive, then move on to who will be eliminated. Standouts for this game include Cirque Knight, whose Lomipedia entry states how it is very loyal, so it would have no problem following the instructions about how to win. Avatris would also survive due to its naturally high speed, and would likely be one of, if not the first to cross the finish line. Laka and Shorchi also pass this challenge for being mind type, and therefore are smart enough to not run back to the exit when Loomians start dying. Finally, Ursal's ability to hide and move on command as demonstrated in the unfair will give him an advantage. Surprisingly, only 2 Loomians die in the first game, the first being Terrafly. Terrafly's entry states that it has a very aggressive nature, meaning it lacks both the level head and the listening skills to survive this game, hence why they are the first to be eliminated. The only other death is Gastroke. Being a snail, Gastroke wouldn't be able to make it very far in such a limited amount of time, and anyone who doesn't finish gets eliminated. With 28 Loomians remaining, it's time for the next game, Honeycomb. In order for players to survive Honeycomb, they must carve their shape out of their cookie without breaking it. To survive, players must either have a steady hand to slowly carve out the shape, or be patient enough to not break the shape. If a character has neither of these traits, they will lose. Loomians that pass this game include Swolder and Sumabito, who both have multiple, steady arms that give them a slight advantage to carving the cookie. The Mind-type Loomians again would survive this challenge for their intelligence and being able to maintain their patience. Finally, Chartiki gets the most creative pass because it can use its open flame as a lighter, similar to what Player 212 did from the Squid Game show. Unfortunately, every remaining quadruped Loomian has to die here, due them all lacking the opposable thumbs needed to even hold or carve the shape in the first place. So that means we have to say goodbye to Forkiri, Zulong, Umbrat, Luxor, Ticlips, Florent, Terraclaw, Borok, Elaguana, Sedamus, and Revinine. Which is an admittedly unfair set of deaths, but there's nothing we can really do about it. Additionally, both Avatras and Cinemuth go down for similar reasons as the quadruped Loomians. Like the former, these two have wings, and not the steady hands required to pass. You could make the argument that Avatras can use its beak to carve out the shape, but it wouldn't have as much control over it as you could over a hand. Ventasian would also have a hard time with this game because of its pincers. While they are better than wings or quadruped feet, it's not by much. They still wouldn't have the steady hand to hold the pin nor the candy, which results in their elimination. The final death in this game is Ursnack. Unlike the previous Loomians, Ursnack's reason for failure is much different. This is due to not only its sticky hands, that would make it hard to get a steady grip, but also the fact that it's the type of Loomian to eat the candy first and ask questions later. Red light green light may have had the highest kill count in the show, but here, it was Honeycomb due to how many Loomians that didn't have the physiology capable enough to succeed. With 15 eliminated and 13 remaining, the next event in line would be the Midnight Brawl. Though not one of the games, lack of food, sleep and trainers to control the Loomians' behavior is bound to start a fight. In order for players to survive, they must either have the hand-to-hand combat skills to defend themselves or the ability to hide and keep a low profile. In addition to their natural skills and Loomipedia entries, Loomians would also be allowed to use their movesets and abilities here. The Brawler-type Loomians, Tatum, Sumabito and Ursal automatically survived due their fighting capabilities, so they would have no problem defending themselves. Luminami and Vesperitu would also survive because their entries talk about how skilled they are in hiding to lure prey, and they would be able to use the former to conceal themselves if need be. Shorchi's small size and Dragoon status as a thief would give them an edge in hiding from their enemies. Finally, while not brawler types, Cirque Knight and Himbra are still naturally buff and strong, the latter of which would also likely use its strength to protect others because of their kind demeanor. The only two eliminated this round are Swelder and Chartiki, and for similar reasons too. Both are severely vulnerable to Luminami, though not for the reasons you might think. In Swelder's case, Luminami's Loomipedia entry states that at night, it eats bug-type Loomians that it comes across, and Swelder is in fact a bug-type Loomian weak to Luminami's predatory nature. In Chartiki's case, its entry states that if its flame were to go out, it would die. Considering the fact that the flame is open and Luminami is a water-type Loomian, it would no doubt use a water-type attack to kill Chartiki with the large target it has on its back. With only 11 players left standing, it's time for the next game, Tug of War. Normally in this game, players are assigned to different teams and try to pull a rope to their side as hard as possible. However, we're not going to be assigning Loomians to different teams here. Instead, we'll be determining winners based on their physical strength and their abilities to work in a team to come up with strategies. Once again, all the Brawler Loomians are guaranteed to survive due to their natural physical strength. Cirque Knight and Himbra would also survive not only because of their strength, but because of their loyalty that they can use to work well in a team. The final standout is Waka Laka, whose mind typing would allow them to come up with a strategy to win. As for the losers, the first to go is the only other mind type Loomian, Shorchi. While Shorchi's mind type may allow them to come up with strategies, they're still just a small, scrawny squirrel, and wouldn't help pull the rope by much. Luminami is the next to go. Luminami's flippers can make it difficult to get a good grip on the rope, which would put them and their team at a disadvantage. The final death in Tug of War is Vesperitu. Vesperatu's Lumipedia entry states how it's very territorial and feeds on those who enter its domain, meaning they are the least likely of the remaining contestants to work in a team. 8 players remain, and now we get to the next and arguably the most infamous game, marbles. The marble game involves players playing a game with marbles in pairs, and whoever wins the game gets to move on. However, like with Tug of War, we're not assigning players in 2 pairs, but rather judging them based on their abilities as a Loomian. The most common method of winning is luck, but a more consistent method is to use manipulation to try and trick the other player into giving them all the marbles. We'll also be looking at which Loomians would be the most likely to sacrifice themselves for their partner. There aren't that many Loomians who clearly pass, but Dragoon's status as a thief might allow him to potentially steal the marbles of his partner, just like what player 218 did in the show. And Waka Laka's mind type again can allow them to detect any signs of manipulation and come up with a game that they could easily win. The first marble elimination is Sick Knight. Remember earlier when I said Sick Knight was very loyal? Well, that unfortunately would be its downfall, as they would be one of 2 Loomians to sacrifice themselves for their partner. That second Loomian is none other than the second to last beginner Loomian, Himbra. Despite its appearance, Himbra are gentle creatures who help humans navigate through mountains, prioritizing the well-being of others more than themselves. Like Sick Knight, they would probably sacrifice themselves for their partner. By process of elimination, the final death in this game is WikiWiki. WikiWiki was able to make it very far due to being average across the board. However, being average means that it isn't able to excel in manipulation nor the ability to resist it. 5 players left to proceed to the deadliest game in Squid Game, Glass Bridge. To win the game, players must make it all the way to the end without stepping on the weaker glass panel. Like marbles, this is a heavily luck-based game. However, there is one way to consistently win, by going last. Winners will be determined by their levels of pride and the size of their ego. If a Loomian is very prideful, they would more likely go first, but if they lack said pride, they're more likely to go last. This time, we'll be starting with the losers of this round, starting with Dragoon. This is where Dragoon's thief status comes back to bite him. Being a selfish robber, they're the most likely of the remaining contestants to go first and be motivated by that prize money. The last of the beginner Loomians, Tatub, also falls. Tatub's entry talks about how it lives in tribes, meaning they are very prideful and passionate about their culture. This would lead them to also pick one of the lower numbers and be one of the first to fall off the bridge. The final death in Glass Bridge is Sumabito. Sumabito's entry states how it throws its victims using its horns, meaning they are the most likely of the players to push someone off. However, this means that it would eventually have to pick the next panel and would inevitably pick the wrong one. Out of the 5 contestants, the Loomians who have the highest chance of surviving are Waka Laka and Ursal. In Waka Laka's case, it's mind typing, which was what saved it in many of these games before, would make it smart enough to not go head first into a situation and watch the players fall at a safe distance. Ursal would survive because it is able to keep a low profile when it needs to, as stated earlier with the Unfair, where we see that it hides in the corn maze and attacks the player on command, and also in its Lumipedia entry where it talks about how it is able to move through forests without making a sound. With our finalists established, it's time for the final game, the titular Squid Game. So the thing with this game is that there are proper rules to play them, but in the show, it's a battle to the death to decide the winner. We'll be looking at how our finalists do primarily in battle prowess, and obviously, this means that they will be allowed to use their Loomian powers, types, moves, and abilities. Both of these Loomians have very similar base stats totals and stab super effective moves against each other. They will surely put up a good fight against each other, though only one will come out victorious. Ultimately, after further consideration and a bit of help from some people in Discord servers, the Loomian who loses this game has got to be Waka Laka. Waka Laka may be superior in intelligence, but Ursal is a much better fighter. Waka-Laka's abilities also aren't that helpful on the offensive side, and while its secret ability may reduce any super effective damage it takes, it's unlikely it would have this ability, being a 1-stroke 256 chance, or a 0.003%. Ursal's on the other hand, is a brawler type Loomian, something that has helped it pass a plethora of the rounds like Waka-Laka's Mind type. Additionally, its primary ability, Sharp Claws, boosts its contact moves, which includes its stab pep jab and stab super effective phantom slash. This is a much more common and offensive ability than Waka-Laka's, and is just enough to give it the edge against its opponent. With all that being said, congratulations to Ursal for winning the first ever Loomian Legacy Squid Game. But, did you agree with my rankings? Is there a certain Loomian you think should have won? Let me know in the comments below. And remember, if this video gets 1000 views, I'll make another Squid Game video, possibly including the roamings. Don't forget to like and subscribe and check out my gaming channel for some Pokemon content.